Welcome to my neighborhood. I am 2 blocks from home with this devotion that comes to you today. Yesterday, my family and I were walking along here, and I got the inspiration to do these set of devotions with the sheep in the background, and thought of many passages in scripture that relate to sheep and how Jesus refers to us. And I was thinking that during this time, one of the things that we're all longing to is to hear the voice of Christ. And one of the passages that came to mind is in John 10. Jesus refers to himself as the Good Shepherd, and he refers to us as the sheep. Listen to these words that come from John chapter 10, verses 2 through 5. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought all his own out, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. And so during this time, the question I was asking myself, and I think for all of us, is okay, as Jesus' sheep, how do we discern his voice? How do we cultivate the different types of practices in our lives where we're hearing his voice clearly? And right now we find ourselves in a situation that none of us probably would have drawn up or desired. And yet, one of the verses that is coming to mind very frequently for me comes from Paul's letter in the book of Ephesians. He says in chapter 5 that we are to redeem the time, and that we are to discern and understand what the will of the Lord is. And I feel like right now we have a unique opportunity as individuals and as a community at Fremont to really begin to discern the voice of Christ in our lives. His promise is that as his sheep, that we will indeed hear his voice. And so what I want to do over these next few days is begin to share from scripture some different spiritual practices that we can begin to cultivate starting this week that will help us to really hear the voice of Christ, our good shepherd, in a new way. And so just to give you a little hint of where we're going, I am going to invite you, after this devotion is over, to prepare you for tomorrow and the rest of the week. Begin to read Colossians chapter 3, just the first 4 verses, because we're going to use that as our platform in order to launch into some very couple basic spiritual disciplines in order to hear the voice of Christ in our life clearly.